And what are some connotations, negative or positive, that surround feminism?
Uh, Crazy bitches, women. There's no there's no such thing as a male feminist, which I hate because I would identify very very heavily as a male feminist. So yeah, so definitely hate men, want to kill all men, take over the world type.
I think some of the negative connotations is that some of them might be going to extremes, to thinking that they now need to get in a higher position than men.
Feminists are man haters.
Lots of negative, just overbearing women who are really aggressive in their views, which is not the case at all.
When I think feminism, especially I guess from a guy's point of view, just like super radical, like thinking like you're just being extreme, like you're being over dramatic.
Feminists are trying to take more power than men, when in reality they're really just trying to, females are trying to make the power differences equal pay, equal rights.
There's the negative connotation that it's women want to be better than men, but I think that's a misconception. And I think the positive connotation with feminism, which I like a lot more, I prefer, is that the positive connotation is that there's just equality and it's not a struggle or anything like that. It's just kind of harmony.
Some negative ones I can think of right off the bat are like they hate men. Like all feminists hate men and think that they're just like out to ruin the world, and it's like extremes, I guess.
When I personally think of feminism, I have kind of like two different images coming to mind. I have your extreme, just like woman's pride, who I wouldn't say is sexist, but is definitely more favored toward their gender. So like I had a teacher in high school who she was very feminist, and she loved all of her girl students, all of her female students, and she was a little bit biased towards them. And then I also have another image of just a female who doesn't let her gender affect who she is or what she's capable of.
Well, I'm always hearing the whole thing of like, I'm not a feminist, like I believe in equality, and that drives me up a wall, but yeah, just like the negative connotations that women are like, who identify as feminists are bra burners or whatever you want to throw on there. When I think, for me, like, I see the like more positive stereotypes of like this rallying point for men and women and people all across the spectrum to just like really come together and fight for equality. So I mean, positive there, I guess.
There's definitely a lot of negative ones that are especially left over from like liberal feminism of like, you know, the 80s and the 90s, like the whole burn our bras, we're the man haters, that kind of stuff. But I feel like especially within the last couple of years, there's been a significant pushback in the other direction of creating positive imagery and connotations for feminism. So you'll see this a lot, like, I'm really involved on Twitter. You'll see it a lot on Twitter, especially for like the He for She movement, which is being led by Emma Watson, and how she went to the UN and spoke about that, and how important it is for men to be involved with this movement of advancing feminism. And that really brings together this idea of they're not man haters. You know, men are also included in this. Men have to be important in feminism as well.
Feminism is more fighting for equality rather than trying to overpower one gender over the other. I think it's really skewed.
And it shouldn't be the idea that girls want to degrade men at all. That's not what it is. It's just equality. So I think that idea brings down the term feminism a lot.
And describe the type of person that comes to mind when you think of a feminist.
Just like a homie. Like the type of person I would want to hang out with. Someone who, you know, actually cares about the well-being of other people and about equal rights and everyone having access to the same opportunities and the same right to like live a free life. And
I would say very driven and also very passionate.
So there's the person I think of, and then there's the person I would like to think of. When I think feminist, I think just like white woman, very like vocal, and just kind of like the feminists that I've been around are just almost very men-hating, which I feel goes against the whole idea of feminism. They're just very like screw men, like men are stupid, stuff like that. They're very like one-sided with their views. They just kind of focus on like one view, whereas the feminism that I would like to, like ideally in my mind, is just like accepting of all races, like feminism like across like all different races and genders and stuff like that, like more accepting than what I feel like the general feminist, like stereotypical feminist is today.
Someone that wants women to have equal rights and have the same standards as for themselves as men.
I think of someone who's really kind and thoughtful about how their actions affect others and how they can change that if it's bad or continue that if it's helpful.
A lot of times they're very caring people, because obviously feminism is rooted in large part about not only caring about yourself, but caring about other people. I like to hope that most feminists aren't in it for themselves, but they're in it because they see this as an issue that other people are having to deal with as well, especially once you start looking into intersectionality and all those kinds of things.
I guess, when you come across a female that really emphasizes women's rights because they do deeply care about what they're pushing for, which is equality and equality all over.
Rosie the Riveter, she's awesome though. She's a badass.
I honestly think it can be anyone. I know some people will picture it as a butch lesbian, which is wrong. But I don't know, I watch a lot of interviews about feminism. I am a feminist. A lot of my friends are feminists. Guys can be feminists. Aziz Ansari is a feminist. It can be anyone as long as you view that men and women should be equal.
And what are your thoughts on equal pay for all genders?
I think that's fine. If you're doing the same job, you should get the same amount of money.
I think that should happen. I know there's been a lot of controversy online about how there's the pink tax and how men get charged less for things or women just have to buy more things, and there's that tax on tampons and there shouldn't be a luxury tax on that. And I don't know what the actual facts are because there's been articles. The only thing I get is articles on things, and so there'll be articles about there's a pink tax and it's terrible, and then some people are like, no, there's not. You need to look at this, and it's ideally, yes, I would want equal pay for both genders and all genders actually, because I know there's more than one gender, and or ways to identify.
I think that women need to be paid the exact same amount that men should be paid. There should never be a wage gap just because they are a different gender. I mean, that's completely ridiculous.
I'm very down. That's something that really should have been a thing already.
Obviously, I think that men and women should be given equal salary, because there's nothing, in the world saying that men, work harder.
I think it shouldn't even be a question.
Kind of a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, that's obvious that we should have equal pay for the same genders, and then we do the same job. Shouldn't matter what you identify as.
There should 100% be equal pay for all genders. There's no reason why there shouldn't be.
I don't think that gender should have any influence on your pay.
I think it's pretty straightforward. You should earn what you're worth. It shouldn't be based off of, what your gender is.
Equal pay for all genders is super important.
I think it should happen. I don't understand why that's even a debate. It's just such an obvious thing. We're both doing the same work. Why should you get paid more because you're a man? That makes no sense.